When it comes to the NFL draft, there certainly is a lot of planning and strategy that goes into it, but sometimes it's also nice to have a little bit of luck on your side. Could the Lions be getting a fortune this year? We're going to talk about it in today's episode, folks, so stay tuned.
We used to be a team no one respected. We used to be a team no one feared. That was then. This is now.
First victory of the year on the line. Goff's got it. Back, looks, throws, end zone. Yes! Caught!
You know who we are.
10-5, end zone, touchdown, Detroit Lions!
And you know where to find us. We won't be far. We'll be on your front porch waiting for you. We are the New Era Lions. And
we are driven by Detroit.
Hello everyone, and welcome back to yet another episode of MCM Motor City Mania. I'm your host, David T. Pike, and as always, we're diving in. But before we do so, again, just want to give a quick shout out and thank you to all my loyal fans and subscribers, and to everybody that is tuning into my show for the very first time. You guys are all absolutely amazing, and I'm thankful for each and every one of y'all. Hope y'all are having a great day. God bless, and let's get into it. So, here's the thing, folks. I've talked about this multiple times on my show this offseason. And until we actually get some sort of a confirmation about what the hell Brad Holmes and Dan Campbell are going to do, I'm going to continue to talk about it. Because at this point, almost every single Lions fan is going to universally agree that the Lions have to either upgrade or would prefer to upgrade both the cornerback position or the edge rushing position. And if you realistically think about it, depending upon who you talk to, that's either number one or number two, and they can be switched around, whatever the case might be. But the point of the matter is that for all Lions fans, they would universally agree that those are the two most pressing needs for the Detroit Lions this offseason. Now, I'm going to say this though. Past that agreement, there's very little that most people will agree upon as far as how do they get to those, how they get those things accomplished. Because when you think about it, okay, yeah, we can agree that those are things that need to be taken care of. But who do we go after? How do we get those things taken care of? That's where people start having problems. That's where disagreements start coming in. Because if you think about it, most people don't typically know what's going to be available for the Lions to, number one, particularly take at the draft, but at the same time, we don't know exactly what the Lions are going to do when the free agency pool officially starts. But the point of the matter is that, like I said, for most Lions fans, those are the one or two positions that they would agree that has to be taken care of. Now, this episode we're talking about the draft particularly. In past mock drafts, some of the professional analysts have suggested that the Lions at pick number 29 could do a couple of different things. They could potentially go after a cornerback in the name of Enos Rakestraw, which is a name that has been popped up quite a bit. They could have gone after Darius Robinson, which is a guy that a lot of Lions fans have got a particular keen interest in because of the fact that he has stated he would like to play for the Lions. And still others have suggested potentially the Lions go after offensive lineman Zach Frazier out of West Virginia. And even still, some have suggested that maybe the Lions decide to trade out of pick number 29 and trade back and get more draft capital. And let's just understand something here. Because there is a lack of consistency or agreement even amongst the professional analysts, this also shows that depending upon who could be available at that pick is also going to influence what the Lions are going to do, because they're not going to let themselves be pigeonholed, into having to draft just a position. They are going to draft whoever is the best positional. They're going to draft whoever is the best player available rather than just a position, which is what Brad Holmes has always done since he has been the GM of the Detroit Lions. Now, here's the thing. With the NFL Scouting Combine having just officially wrapped up, those people that I'm talking about, professional analysts, fans, and other people that have a particular keen interest in the NFL draft, they're now starting to alter their draft boards, which means that mock drafts are also starting to change because, hey, the Scouting Combine is going to start give you a much more clearer picture what you potentially have to work with and where someone's value on a board is. Not necessarily to say that, they're less valuable because they perform poorly, but maybe somebody else performed really well that's going to now make you have to alter your draft boards. Because if you think about it, prior to the scouting combine, it looked like the Lions' potential ability to get a top prospect to potentially fall into their laps at pick number 29 was virtually a slim to none prospect at all, because it was like, listen, by pick 29, most of the top prospects are already gone. But there were certain players that at the NFL scouting combine, they absolutely just blew it away, and now their stock is dramatically rising to where it could potentially push a guy that was just a fringe candidate down to where the Lions are at pick 29. Such guys that I'm talking about that are seeing their stock draft, rise exponentially are wide receiver Xavier Worthy, edge rusher Chop Robinson, defensive interior lineman Brandon Fisk, and also linebacker Peyton Wilson. These are all guys that had absolutely just monumental, just great showings at the scouting combine, and now their stock is going through the damn roof. When you think about it, players like that and others that have done very well at the scouting combine could potentially push down a top 20 prospect that the Lions would be interested in getting, and they could potentially get them at a virtually next to nothing cost at pick number 29 without having to do any potential wheeling and dealing to potentially move up. Now, what particular prospect am I talking about? I am talking about cornerback KoolAid McKinstry. And I'm telling you this right now, I have been very high on this guy. I have liked what I've seen out of his film. And for me, I think that this guy would be a perfect fit for the Detroit Lions, not only for the fact of what he provides as a cornerback, but how he is as an overall player for the Detroit Lions. Now, many analysts, as I said, they would consider KoolAid McKinstry to be one of the best cornerback prospects in the NFL draft. And prior to the combine, he was considered a top 20 prospect. Now, what do I mean by that? Well, if you go out and you've checked some top analysts' mock drafts, and if you even went to the PFF mock draft and a couple other mock draft simulators, KoolAid McKinstry was usually going prior to the combine, usually somewhere around pick 17 to sometimes as late as pick 22. So he was right there at that top 20 prospect. But ever since the scouting combine happened, he has now started to drop all the way down to the top of the second round, which is now right exactly where the Lions could potentially nab him at pick number 29, and they wouldn't have to move one bit at all. That's why I'm saying the Lions could, heavy emphasis on that word, could have KoolAid McKinstry fall right into their laps, which I'm going to tell you this right now. If you could get KoolAid McKinstry at pick number 29, that would be absolutely just exponentially just awesome. Because it's like, listen, if you could get a prospect like KoolAid McKinstry at number 29 and you don't have to move, I don't have to explain very hard how just absolutely good fortune that is for the Lions, because it's like, listen, let's understand something here about what KoolAid McKinstry would provide for the Lions at pick number 29 should he actually get there. Like, how ridiculously fortunate it would be for the Lions. First and foremost, think about this, folks. If you take a look at how much it would cost the Lions to get KoolAid McKinstry at pick number 29, depending upon what, cap website you go to, whether it's SpotRack or Over the Cap, you're only looking at potentially about $13 million that you'd have to actually pay him over the course of the contract that you'd have to give him as a rookie. And the very first year, you're only looking at about a $2.5 million cap hit. For a cornerback of KoolAid McKinstry's talent, that is an absolutely just stupendous deal right there. That's number one. Number two, if you think about this, had the Lions wanted to trade up prior to the NFL scouting combine to potentially get a better pick so they could have potentially gotten a better rookie option, it would have cost not only more money for the Lions to do it, because if you move further up in the draft, it's going to cost you more cap, because that's the way that's how the drafting process works. The higher your draft pick is, the higher the cap hit is as well. But it would also have costed you draft capital as well. Because here's the thing, I play the mock draft game. I will take a look at the draft simulator, and it's like, listen, if you want to trade up in the draft, you're typically going to have to give up draft capital, which means, okay, that means you have less potential draft capital either the year you're drafting or the next year. But again, if KoolAid McKinstry is sitting there at number 29, you don't have to trade anything. He's literally fallen right into your lap. That right there is absolutely just fortunate beyond all belief. And then finally, think about this. the Lions could, and again, I always use that word with heavy emphasis, could be getting the next star corner in the NFL and not have to pay a top 20 prospect as a top 20 prospect. Think about that. He is a top 20 pick in my opinion, and most NFL analysts would agree that he's a top 20 pick. But if he falls all the way to pick number 29, you're getting a guy that should have gone in the top 20, and you're getting him for substantially less than what he's valued at. Now, I know that there are Lions fans who, to kind of be argumentative, they're apprehensive about the prospect of drafting a cornerback in the first round, and I understand why. Again, first and foremost, cornerback is one of those positions that has a very high fail rate in the NFL. It's kind of like quarterback. It's very hard to find a cornerback that's going to do very well in the NFL. That's number one. But also number two, there's a little bit of an emotional scarring. There's a little bit of mental scarring thanks to Jeff Okudah from former GM Bob Quinn. There's just some people that don't want to go back down that road again, draft another cornerback high only for it to fail. But again, I've said this before, I will say this again now. I trust Brad Holmes' ability to find a cornerback of good value, to find a cornerback that is going to be a great prospect much more substantially than I would have ever out of Bob Quinn. So for me, it's like, listen, I'm not too particularly worried on that front. But you have to understand how it works with cornerback. It is also much like quarterback. If you're going to try and find a great prospect at that position, you're going to have to most likely draft him in a very high position. You're going to have to get them high in the draft. Because let's understand something here. I'm going to put a list up on the screen to show you guys just what I mean by this. If you start taking a look at some of the best cornerbacks to ever play in the NFL, it would actually kind of surprise you, because it surprised the hell out of me, how many of them are actually first-round draft picks. Because it's like, listen, I know a lot of people want to potentially go bargain shopping. I know there's a lot of people that are like, hey, you know what, maybe we could find an undrafted free agent, or maybe we could find somebody in the later rounds. Yeah, you possibly could. But if you take a look at all the guys that I just put up on that list, damn near virtually all of them were first-round draft picks. So that right there tells me something. If you're going to want a top cornerback, you're most likely going to have to draft them high. And it's like, hey, if you can get KoolAid McKinstry at pick number 29, if he should just somehow fall right into the Lions' laps at number 29, I would just like, sign me up. Because it's like, listen, I know what the kid can provide. I've seen what the guy can do on tape. I've seen his statistical prowess. The guy has the ability to play. And it's like, listen, you go to Alabama and you can play well at Alabama, that already gives you a pretty good leg up in being able to play well in the NFL. Because think about this. When you take a look at his college stats, go back to just 2022 first and foremost, and then take a look at 2023. In 2022, he was targeted 80 times, only gave up 37 receptions, had a 46.3 reception rate for wide receivers, had a 10% missed tackle rate, which for a cornerback is ridiculously low. He only gave up 352 yards through the air as a cornerback to receivers, and he had a 57.9 passer rating. That was just in 2022. So that right there tells me the guy was good in coverage that year. Then you go to 2023, was only targeted 39 times. So quarterbacks had kind of learned, listen, let's not go after this dude. And even when they did target him, he still didn't allow a lot of receptions. He only allowed 19 receptions out of 39 targets. So again, sub 50% on the receiving percentage. 48.7 to be precise. Then he had an 8.1% missed tackle percentage rate. That's even lower than 10%. So again, even better for a cornerback. Only 205 receiving yards given up and a 73.1 passer rating that was given up that year. So again, you're seeing a guy that at Alabama, going up against some of the best college competition that the college ranks could provide, that's eventually going to go to the NFL ranks. This guy is playing at an extremely high level. Now, again, if you think about it, the first thing that's going to jump out when I talk about those stats is first and foremost his coverage skills. Because it's like, listen, if you can keep guys to a sub 50% reception rate and you can keep guys to a sub 80 passer rating in the NFL, you're doing something good. Second, this guy is a willing tackler. Again, when you have a lower than 10% missed tackle percentage rate as a cornerback, that means you're willing to tackle. It also means you're good at tackling, which again, we know that fits with what the Lions like to do on defense because they want cornerbacks that are willing to tackle, just like how they want wide receivers that are willing to block. And then finally, if you think about it, we just found out at the scouting combine that this guy had a Jones fracture, which is a fracture in his pinky toe, but he didn't know that he had it, which most likely means that at some point in the 2023 NCAA season that he played with that injury. But yet somehow during that season, he still earned a first-team All-American honor selection and a first-team All-SEC honor selection. So it's like, listen, the guy played through an injury, was still considered one of the best players in the NCAA and in the SEC, and yet, like I said, the stats show quite literally the guy can play at a very high level, even despite injury. So to me, it's like, okay here. The guy can play, the guy has the ability to tackle as a quarterback, and there's a potential this guy could fall to the Lions at pick number 29. 1+1+1, I say go after him. I say if he's there, don't even think twice about it. Run that cue card all the way up to the stand of Mr. Roger Goodell and say, yes, we want this guy. Because, hey, not only is he a great cornerback prospect, but come on, folks, do I really have to spell it out? The Lions are supposedly the KoolAid drinkers of the world. You get a guy whose literal name is KoolAid McKinstry. I'm all for it. Just saying. But anyway, folks, I figured I'd just put this episode together because, again, I always pay attention to what's going on in mock drafts. I always pay attention to what's going on in the mock draft simulators. I understand that's not reality, but it's like, listen, it's about as close to reality as you're going to get until the actual draft somehow finds its way to get here, which is coming sooner and sooner each and every passing day. But until that time, I just want to say thank you all for watching yet another episode of MCM Motor City Mania. If you like what you saw, by all means, I highly encourage you all to do one of these three things: like, comment, and subscribe. If by chance you subscribed in the past, you forgot to do so at the time, or you just subscribed and not had a chance to do so, again, please subscribe to the channel. It always is welcome, and I'm always thankful for every subscription I can get my hands on. But I also want to encourage you all, please, after you subscribe, make sure you turn on that bell notification icon as well, so that way you never miss any more content I push out. Again, that's always going to be something that I highly encourage y'all because, again, we want you to jump right back into the streams as soon as they become available. Also want to encourage y'all, please, to share this content with your Lions friends and family members. Share here on YouTube, share it on Twitter, share it on Facebook, share it anywhere and everywhere you can with everybody and anybody that you can. The more we share it, the greater the channel spreads, the greater the channel grows. And with that being said, to everybody, again, just want to say thank you all for watching the content. Thank you all for your devotion and loyalty to the channel. I'm ever so thankful for each and every one of you all. And with that, hopefully I gain new MCM subscribers. And if I did, welcome to the channel. I'm so thankful to have you. If I still haven't earned your trust, hopefully I'll get another chance to do so in the following episode. But until that time, I just want to say, everybody, God bless. Hope you all have a great day. And until the next time we meet, I'll see you all in the next episode.